Circlin, Franklin, Brooklyn. I, I don't know where I was going with that. Anyway, a new Berserk chapter is out, and I actually have no idea what the fuck is going on anymore. I was under the impression, if you saw my previous reviews, that the band was gonna gang together with the Kushan and they're gonna storm right into Falconia, beat the crap out of Griffith. Some stuff is gonna happen along the way, and yeah, that doesn't seem like it's happening anymore. I'm not saying this is a bad thing, by the way, I'm just really taken aback, because this is not the direction I was expecting the story to take. I thought the plotline from here on was pretty clear cut. Hey, Soul from the future here. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I just got kind of lazy and didn't record the video. And by the time I wanted to continue recording, a new chapter was gonna drop. So here we are reviewing both chapters now. Not that much happened in the second one. They were kind of just walking around for most of it. And by the end, we get to something. As you can tell, yeah, we didn't really get closer to the truth, I don't think. But anyway, enough wasting time. The chapter starts off with the aftermath of the Clipout attack. And, well, it's about what you'd expect. What I wasn't expecting, though, was how the Kushan would react to the situation. I thought they would use this opportunity, this victory, as a morale boost, seeing as how they actually were able to fend off and win against a portion of Griffith's army. Seeing as how the story has to end with a confrontation with Griffith at some point, I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to band together an army to go fight him, but here there were no cheers or beers and laughs and hurrahs. The Kushans went bananas. They kind of lost it, seeing as how this small portion of Griffith's army was able to massacre them to this extent. They barely came out on top here, and this didn't even include any of the high-ranking members of Griffith's army, aside from Rock Shaw's, which, let's face it, he's more of a shadows hiding assassin type of guy. He's not one to go out for direct confrontation. So naturally, as the Kushans finally begin to realize just how fucked they are going against Griffith, they unanimously piss their pants and try to find someone to point fingers at, and that person happens to be Guts. They didn't know all the wiser, so Daiba pointed out that this man has the brain of sacrifice, says a bunch of magic mumbo jumbo so he can sway the Emperor's decision, and they exile him from the country so that they can be saved. Which, hey, to his credit, he's not being entirely deceitful here. He is saying some of the truth just for a different agenda. Now, I don't think any of what he's doing goes against the wishes of the Alliance, because at the end of the day, he is opposing Griffith and whatever he stands for. So he's just using this as an excuse, as the only real person with authority here that can make change, to use this situation to save Guts from being executed, because if he did stay with the Kushan, that would inevitably happen at some point. So this is really the only escape route he has. Like, Daiba isn't stupid. He knows how much of a powerhouse Guts is and how valuable he is as an asset for the Empire and his own goals. So getting rid of him here is quite literally pointless. And not only pointless, it's a big detriment to their overall fighting force. On a side note, I love how the Farnese Glaze train still seems to be going, and we have Riz Lord Roderick here just giving her the stand proud Miura strong moment, like it's straight out of Sukuna versus Jogo. And maybe I'm reading too deep into this, but it seems like Farnese is really warming up to him, and maybe she's finally starting to develop feelings for him. I mean, shit, he stole my heart already. And Guts isn't exactly in the, let's say, greatest situation right now, so I would not be surprised if some of her infatuation for him dissipated because of this incident. Also, I need somebody to please explain who this character is, because I know that ain't Guts. This is not Guts. This is Guts' doppelganger from Timu. This is Butts Make Booty Cheeks. I don't know what happened in the lab on this day. They did not cook. I've praised Studio Gaga before for their art, but Guts looks so fucking weird. But anyway, just a minor nitpick I thought I'd throw in there. Now the question really becomes what will happen from here on out, because these whole two chapters, Guts is kind of just out of it, high in the sky on drugs. His friends are trying to stop him from getting exiled or sealed off and killed. Daiba's having his own agenda. Salat doesn't give a fuck anymore because he's seen what a pathetic display Guts is at the moment and there's no hope for him. So how are they gonna beat Griffith and his whole entire army without the Kushan Empire behind their backs? I don't know. I actually have no idea what Daiba is planning here. But whatever he is planning to do, it probably has to do with the man-made behelit that even Slav brought up. And these monks that are guiding Guts to the location where he was sealed were actually seen in chapter 233, where they were praying and doing this weird ritual bullshit on the man-made behelit too. So whether Daiba's using it to get some immense power gain for himself, create a weapon out of Guts, or just have him reflect and meditate on his current situation, I don't know. There are a lot of ways that this can go, but I just don't see how there could be a plausible explanation for him gaining enough power to rival Griffith and his army without losing himself. I know I've said this more times than people have gooned to at Dan's feed drawings at this point, but man, it's just so depressing seeing Guts in this state, especially in this moment. There's something really heavy about it when he's looking back at the distance at all his friends, at Puck, the first person he met at the beginning of the story, with this super cold and indifferent look, like he just doesn't give a fuck anymore. It's just so sad, and actually really reminiscent of how Griffith acted or felt during the Golden Age arc of Berserk, where he was imprisoned and finally when he was released, he kind of just didn't care about anything anymore because the way to his dream, what he could have done, was taken away from him. Albeit it was because of his actions, but because of his ego, he can't really come to admit that himself, so his hatred for Guts grew. And that's kind of the opposite situation here, where Guts wasn't really in control and he couldn't really do anything to stop the outcome. And in that same vein, it might have an opposite effect, where instead of his hatred growing for Griffith, he might come to value his comrades more. I don't know. But yeah, that's about all I wanted to say. I don't really know what other predictions I can make. We weren't really given too much information here to work with, so yeah, I guess that's it. Actually, never mind, I have one more prediction. I don't think that Guts is going to hate Griffith anymore after this. Now, I don't mean completely. He's not going to forgive Griffith by any means. He can't really do that. But he's going to learn to let go at least some of his hatred. Because without the backing of the Kushan Empire, first of all, there's no feasible chance they're going to do a frontal assault and win. So the only thing they can do at this point is infiltrate Falconia and engage with Griffith in maybe a sneak attack or something, but even that seems unfeasible. I don't think Griffith is going to be taken out by a fucking sneak attack. So then the only solution here is to save Casca and boot the fuck out of there. Maybe have a fight with Griffith, but it's not one filled with rage and hatred, because that's the thing that's really alienating everybody that Guts cares about from him. His pursuit of revenge and hatred is really what led Casca to this situation to begin with. So maybe now, finally, after meditating and seeing the light, he's gonna learn to let go. Somewhat. However, I still think the fucking fight with Griffith has to happen, right? You can't have Berserk end off without that happening. It just doesn't feel right. So I'm still conflicted on how to feel about this. But whenever I think about Berserk as a piece of media, my mind always comes back to this quote by Godo that really encapsulates the entire story, the entire journey that Guts has been on throughout these 382 chapters. And in my mind, there has to be a resolution, an answer to this quote here. I'm just really curious to see how this whole thing is going to resolve, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we don't have a fucking 10-year tree training meditation arc where Guts is gonna be stuck in this limbo of mindlessness and we're gonna have to pause on the plot of the story until he regains himself. Anyway, yeah, like, subscribe, and all that jazz, or don't, and I will see you all in the next one. See ya!